Hello guys, Daniel here with Handy Danny. Today I got called to a coin operated washer made by Whirlpool that was not spinning. As I got here today to work on this machine, I noticed as soon as I opened up the lid that there was water in the bottom of the tub. Not a lot, but there was some. Right off the bat, my main concern is what is stuck in the pump. Did the pump get seized? What's going on in the pump? Usually if you have a little bit of water, your washer will shut down, quit working, and it's all due to the pump being plugged. There are other issues, but step number one is we're gonna go ahead, remove the pump, clean it out, and go from there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys the internal portion of the tub, show you the water. I've already unplugged it, shut the water off. First two things you want to do when working on one of your appliances. So here's the Whirlpool washer. It's your typical coin operated. You've got your mechanisms, your timer mechanism in the box, your coins slot. But inside this tub here, I don't know if you can see it, but there in that back corner is some water. That water is just showing you that this thing did not properly dry. Alright guys, so like I said, now I just went ahead, disconnected the water completely, put the hoses back up there so there's no water leaking on the floor. This will be completely laid on its back. I want to get some of the water drained out. I'm just going to use a little trash can. But right up underneath this washer, you can see the pump right here. This is your pump. You've got your motor, your wiring harnesses. All we're going to do is detach these two clips, one here, and it just pops off with a flathead screwdriver. I'll show you that. One up top, and then you've got two hoses. You've got this lower hose that goes to the tub, and the upper hose, I don't know if you can see it right there, it just plugs in the same way. There's the clamp that goes to the drain. That goes to the tub, this goes to the drain. So we're just gonna disconnect both of those. I'm gonna disconnect one at a time, do this bottom one first so that I can empty what water is in there into this trash can so we can make minimal mess. So let's do that first. All right guys, I'm gonna do the best I can with one-handed. Normally I try to use two hands for this, and maybe a pair of vice grips, but this is pretty difficult. I wish I had somebody recording for me so that I could show you guys the process, but I don't. So I'm gonna actually remove this clamp. All you have to do is squeeze it with a pair of pliers and then pull it back. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. So I got that clamp moved back. You just need it. See right here is the end of that tube that the hose goes on. I've got my trash can on low. We're gonna try to catch as much water in that as possible. Not a whole lot, so you can see that there is still some water in it. Like I said, we want to get rid of that. Make a little, so you don't have water all over the floor. Nobody likes rolling in a bunch of water. While that's draining out, I'm gonna grab a flathead screwdriver and we're gonna pop those two gray clamps off. All right, got my flathead screwdriver. I just like to take this bottom one. Like I said, sorry about that. Difficult doing this with one hand and trying to hold the camera with the other. But gonna just pull this straight down. And then if you twist these, they come right out. You've got little T-locks, so as soon as you put it back in, twist it back this direction, now it's locked and won't come out. So I'm just gonna remove that, get that out of my way. The top one is a little more difficult. Again, one-handed. I usually try to get two hands up in there. So I'm trying to show you guys as much as possible here. I like to see step by step on how to do this. But if I can get this right up in there, sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my camera here. It just got blurry. There, got it popped up over the top. Just push up, there it is. That's disconnected. We still have to remove this clamp right up in here. I don't know if you can see it, it's dark now. Right there. this clamp right here. So I'm gonna get up in there, squeeze that, and get that off as well. So that clamp has been removed. I'm just gonna disconnect that hose. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and lay this flat back on its back now that I've got that water drained. All right guys, so as you can see, as I moved it, I laid it forward so I could slide it out and got some water again. We tried the best we could without getting a whole lot of water. Much easier to work when it's completely on its back. But now we got that. I'm just gonna move this hose and tuck it up here. And then this hose, we're gonna pull off. So we got both hoses off. You can see here, number one, number two. No way you can mix them up. The top hose is much thicker. And if you try to put it on the front, it's way too big. It's gotta go on the back. The other thing you wanna check, other than the pump, is make sure that these hoses have no buildup in them. A lot of times they'll get a sock sucked in there. It'll plug it up. That'll cause your issue. So don't just check the pump, make sure to check the insides of the hoses. Another way you can do it is, these ones are very soft. You can squeeze it, make sure that there's nothing in there. This one's a very short hose, so you should be able to see pretty much all the way up into the tub there. But we're gonna tuck that back in there. Take this one and kind of just let it go there. Now that we got these two clips off, the easiest thing in the world, and you just pull straight up onto that pump. Okay, now we're gonna look inside that pump. I don't see anything. However, a lot of the time, it's not just seeing. Sometimes little pebbles get stuck in there. So what I like to do, what I do is I take a socket extension and I stick it right in there. They're about the same shape. And then I just spin it freely. I'll go ahead and show you guys that, see if I can get this set up to a point where it'll show you. But these pumps are pretty cheap. You can find them just about anywhere. I just take it, run water under a faucet in it, turn it, but we're gonna go ahead and see if we can turn this one freely. All right, so let's get out the extension here. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I've got just a little extension, and I take that and into that little hole right there, and insert that, and then just turn. We got it turning freely. Everything feels good. We have no issues there. So now that that's running, like I said, just a pebble can stop that thing from spinning. And I just do that back and forth several times to make sure that nothing's out. Maybe we'll give it a little tap and back and forth. Okay. So now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and check a few other things while it's upside down. Make sure that there's no plug issues or anything. So back under here, I'm gonna check this, make sure that the motor's spinning. Seems to be turning just fine. The other thing is, if you ever have issues with these washers not spinning, a common issue is right back in here you have a little coupling. Let's see if we can see it. Where is it? Right here. That thing will break. They're pretty cheap, and again, now that I've created water everywhere, I'm probably gonna end up laying in it, but we're gonna pull this out just a little bit. And I just check that coupling, make sure, oh, and that's what the issue is. See, it's broke. When I turn this, that thing should turn. You can see a little bit of movement there. I can actually see the crack right there where my finger's at. Just that little plastic piece, it matches this one is broke. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this mortar, and I'll show you how to do that. Pretty simple, almost identical to taking out the pump. You've got a couple clips, you got one here and one here at the top. So you got two little 1/4" screws that hold that in. Don't need anything fancy to take that off, just 1/4" socket with a ratchet or a screwdriver. And then these just pop off just like the pump. All right, so I got my 1/4" ratchet. Just take that in there. Maybe, again, a lot of difficulty with one hand. Should get me a camera crew or something to help me out. That'd be much easier. I just like to show everybody step by step, because I know when I've watched YouTube videos and I don't get a step by step, sometimes it can make it really difficult. So there's screw one, And then right back here is screw number 2. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on pause so that I can get that screw out. Everybody knows how to remove a screw. So screw number 2 has been removed. What I'm gonna do is disconnect this wire harness. All you gotta do is pull up, don't pull up too hard. You don't wanna break this because then your wire harness can wiggle loose as it's working. So I just disconnect that, lay it to the side. Again, come back to the back. I just put my screwdriver underneath that. Pop up, boom, it's off, and then it just sits there. This one here, same thing. I just kind of wedge it in between the metal. Pop off, boom. This does the same thing with the turn. I like to get it out of my way. And sometimes they can give you little fits depending on the mortar. But again, it's got that little T-lock. So when you go to put it in, you want to make sure that it is angled that way. And then it just comes back, spins, and then snaps back on. I'm just gonna set that aside. Now that that's all done, I'm just gonna lift straight up on this mortar. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. They are kind of heavy, and pull it out. Now you can see the bottom half of that coupling right there. It sits right there. It's just fine, no issues. It turns. When you order these brand new, Parts Doctor, Appliance Repair, Amazon, they all have them. They will come with this piece, and I'm just gonna take that out real quick. And they come with, let's go ahead and flip that again. This rubber piece, and you can see it's broke right there. There's the other portion right there. So all we're gonna do with that is pull this straight up. And it may be difficult because it's broke, but it came right off. So then that sits. I would definitely and highly recommend that you just replace the whole thing. I've got used parts. I've got probably 40 of these machines sitting in a storage unit. So what I do is I'll probably go and grab this piece here, and they're the exact same, just one's top, one's bottom. And like I said, your rubber piece has got several of these holes. Normally when these are put together, hole, they just go in there just like that, and then when you put it back together, it'll sit just into that one. So what I'm gonna do for now is I'm gonna go grab these parts, and we will be back to put this together. Alrighty, so we got our rubber piece, that's already in place. This is where things get tricky because this all has to line up. So what I'm gonna do is just place this rubber piece right back in there. So now when I go to put this mortar back in, I gotta remember that the 2 prongs face me, the 1 prong faces the top, and we gotta get that in there. Again, I'm not gonna be able to truly show you since I don't have somebody here to hold my phone to record this. But again, it's pretty simple. It's probably the most difficult part of this entire process, but it's still pretty simple. So I'm just gonna go ahead, and like I said, this just goes on here. Just wanna make sure that it's on there nice, which it is. It's nice and flush there. Same with this one in here, nice and flush. If you guys do have to replace this one that's in here, let's see if I can get this back out now. It is difficult. I will tell you, if you're gonna replace, if you bought a new part and it comes with it, you might as well replace the whole thing. But what I have to do in order to get this out, because this just doesn't pull off like this one does. But what you have to do is you take your flathead screwdriver and come from underneath this thing, and you see right here, and you just you'll just give it a pop, and then spin it, and then just work it. I'm not gonna take this one off, there's no need. But you gotta continue to work it. If not, it binds up on one side. So you just wanna continue spinning this over and over and over again until it's spun freely. So again, just remember, you turn it, give it a couple hits. Don't hit too hard if it's not broken, you wanna save it. But I like to get right in between and just give it some pops. We're not gonna do it again, like I said. But this is on. I like to just give it a few taps, make sure it's on there nice and good. And now we're gonna set it back in there. I'll show you once it's back in. All right, so the motor's back in, wire connected. I did fail to mention when you disconnect that, there's gonna be those 2 wires there. I didn't have to, I just left the wire harness attached. But anyway, connected that back in. Now what I'm gonna do is, like I said in the back here, I've got that metal bracket I'm gonna push, and that has snapped right back into place. Grab my second one that I completely removed. Remember, with the T facing sideways, and then that just slides back and snaps right into place. Your little 1/4" screws go right back in. One in the front, one in the back. Doesn't matter, again, which screw goes where, as long as the screw's in place. Switch my ratchet so that it's in the correct direction. And I'm actually gonna put this on pause so I can get these screws in. All right, so my screws are back in, as you guys can tell. My next step is to go ahead, get the pump, and I'm gonna set the pump right back on here. I put my 2 flat pieces. This is flat here, and that's flat here, so it looks the same. Here's from the backs, or from the other side. I just turn that so that way I know that the flat side's towards me, because when you go to put that pump in, it's the same thing. You want to make sure that this is turned. I can't really get it turned with my finger, but I turn it to where the flat side is going to be identical to that. So that makes that easier, and it just slips right on. Let me straighten this out a little more. All right, so you can see the 2 flat sides. Now all I'm going to do is this just goes right back onto here, just like that. Slips, and you can see it's got like little holes right here where your feet sit. It's got 4 of those. Just take that and set that right back into place, and you're good there. Sometimes you may need to put these back into place before you get that pump, because it's hard to see what you're doing in the back, but get a little feel for it, and I may pull that pump back off. Okay, so take that pump back off, and again, you can see the hole right there. Just take the T, and then I lay this, and I just put it right there until I need it. This will go back on. Again, your hoses sometimes will get in your way. Just move them out of the way, and make sure that that sits firmly in that hole. Now I'm gonna reach to the back here, show you my fingers. I'm just gonna put them on the back side and push. Maybe. I tell you guys, I'm gonna do something and we'll see if it works. There, I just used my fingers on the back, pushed in, and we are connected. Next one, just take it again, turn it, there, slide that back, finger up, and we are snapped into place. Again, this hose only goes on the back side because of the size of it, and it will just slide right into place. Now, before I put this other hose on, I put my clamp on. It just makes life a million times easier. If not, you got another hose in your way. So need 2 hands for that with my pliers. So I'll be back. Ready? So I just moved that clamp up, just like I said. Put this one in. I make sure that my hose goes right up to the tab right there. We want that all the way on. Get that on. Now, guys, since we have been messing with this washer, with the water portion of it, you're gonna wanna make sure that you check for leaks throughout the day. If you're using it, come in, just in case you don't get this seated, and water does leak. Just be cautious of that. The other thing that I wanna say is, when you go to remove these hoses, they can sometimes be a little bit of a pain. You can remove the clamp and you're still just trying to get it off. I just take a screwdriver and kind of just wedge around this here and twist until it comes off. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna zip tie that up into place, get that done. This one somehow, there's a clip on it. They won't need to remove or anything, but this one's broke, so I'm gonna zip tie that up into place. I'm gonna double check, so I just get down here again. You can see my couplings back together and everything turns as it's supposed to. If these are constantly breaking and binding and you're checking, sometimes your transmission will seize up and cause this not to spin freely. If your pump is getting lodged and this is the transmission's trying to turn, these will break as well. This one here, everything's running freely. Sometimes they just wear out, get weak, and don't have any issues. But don't worry, hopefully in the future we do have videos of transmission replacement. Not very, very difficult. We got some bolts here that we just remove, but that's for another video. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on pause. We'll go ahead and get this stood back up and see where we're sitting on the washer working. Sorry about that, I accidentally hit stop. So I've got that rotated down. The washer is spinning and draining currently as we speak. So you can kind of catch it. You can still see the water spinning in there. Go ahead and shut that down. Everything seems to be working as it should. And check it one more time. All right, guys, so went ahead, we got the washer going. I showed you guys it span, it was spinning, it was draining, did everything that we needed it to do. However, it's making a very, very loud clicking, popping sound. Not normal. Like I said earlier in this video, the motor coupling can break due to just being old and wore out, or something else. The pump seizes, the transmission seizes, something happens to where it binds that coupling and it's trying to turn but spins and breaks it. As it was spinning, that popping sound was brought, you know, I could hear it and caught my attention, and that is probably what broke this motor coupling. So we diagnosed problem one. Now we have a second problem involved in this washer. Obviously, so I removed the front of this washer, which I'll show you how I did it, because you can't lift the lid to listen. You can't tip the washer back and listen while it's spinning. It just shuts it down. So I went ahead and removed it, listened to it, watched where the transmission part goes, and that's where I noticed that this was the issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this camera around, show you how to take the front end off. If you've watched this far, you've replaced that motor coupling, your washer's spinning, everything's working fine, great. You don't need to go any further. I debated on whether to make this one long video or do a part two. I believe I'm just gonna do a part two, do a second on the transmission removal. So if you wanna see how to remove that transmission, check your clutch, follow into part two. I'll label this one motor coupling part one, part two, clutch or transmission removal. So I'm gonna flip this around before I end it, show you how I removed this front end, and we'll go from there. All right, so as I said, remove the front. All I had to do with this front end is it's got these two clips here, and then there's a locking assembly, not necessarily working. And then down at the very bottom where these, what did I put them? These two screws right here. And all this does is it slides right up underneath into the top here, and then down here at the bottom, your two screws go into place. Easy to do. So if you're just trying to clean your pump and you don't want to tip this thing upside down, all you have to do is remove that front panel, pop these two clips, these two clamps, and this will come right out. Remember, stick a pan or something underneath it, because there's always water down here at the bottom of the drum. Probably can't see it moving around down there, but easy. Obviously, in order to remove that coupling, drop the transmission, or do any of that, you're gonna want this thing on its back. So thank you guys so much